Hey guys, today I have a special treat. I have an interview with Jennifer Thornhill, and I wanted to do this because Jennifer took some of our classes at svslearn.com, and in conversing back and forth, we found out something pretty neat about her and her career that I thought would be interesting to people that follow my channel. And so with that, we're just going to kind of get into it and get to know Jennifer a little bit more, and hopefully kind of discover some of the things that she's been doing that might apply to your life. So here we go. So where do you live actually? Did I even find that out?
I live in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
I'm about halfway between Kingston and Toronto, right on the shore of Lake Ontario.
Okay.
So
Well, great. So you know what snow is.
I do. I do. We don't get so much of it here. I grew up north where we
Uh-huh.
had a lot more, but here it's pretty good. And that's
Oh,
why I am in this place right now.
you're in the South.
Yeah, I'm in the south of Canada.
That's funny because I just moved south and I'm in Arizona now, and we don't get any snow now from Utah. So
Oh, you're
anyway,
so lucky.
so you're an illustrator. Do you want to talk about like how you began your career?
Yes. So it is a little bit of a story. So I never thought of illustrating as a career. When I was in university, I went to school because I wanted to write. I
Hmm.
wanted to write picture books. I did take a lot of art classes because I did really like art, but in no one ever really told me you could have a job in illustration. So
Hmm.
I never even tried to go that way.
Hmm.
And then years later, I I got married, and my husband's family is really big on Disney World. And we were all going to take a trip, and I'd never been. And we're all going to go. My mother in law asked me, because I can draw, would I draw some pictures for some like matching group t shirts that we were all going to wear to the park? And I thought, no way. I'm not going to walk around in matching t shirts. And I had two boys who were like just getting to be into their teenage years. And I thought they were never going to do it. But I
Hmm.
did. I drew it. What it was just like a little row of stick figures with, one of each of us. And we
Uh,
were wearing Mickey Mouse ears. And I put them on the t shirts, and we went to Disney World. And you could hardly walk around that place for people stopping to say, where did you get that shirt? Will you make me one? Can I have your email address? And it was really crazy. I did not expect so many people to be interested in this one silly little drawing that I did on the front of our t-shirt. And I don't even have it anymore. I wish I did. And so when I came home from that trip, I had a shop on Etsy where I sold like some little crafts. So I put that up there, and um, I wanted to sell just the picture. Like you could pay me, I would send you a JPEG. You could
mhm.
print it on your t-shirt. And
So
it
you already had an Etsy shop.
I did, but it wasn't selling anything.
Okay.
I never sold a thing on Etsy prior to doing it. Etsy's really hard. There are some people who are very successful on Etsy and have a shop that does really, really well,
Hmm.
but Etsy is hard. It's harder than it looks.
Okay.
So yeah, I did some little crafts. I put them up there. Nobody bought anything, and then I put these t-shirt designs up, and they started selling right away. And I was really amazed at that. I thought, why are so many people buying these? And maybe it's a cultural thing in Canada. People don't really go around in matching group shirts.
Oh,
But in the United States, it seems to be a lot more popular.
okay.
And because I was here, I didn't see that. I never realized. But once I went down there, and so many people, we did on that trip a trip to Disney World and a cruise, and we had shirts for both. And both times it was just crazy. The number of people who wanted
You
just
said,
to
where
know
do I
where we
get
were.
that?
Yeah.
So
How can I get one?
to back up, did you take names on your trip at all? Did you say, I'll contact you or anything like that? Or?
No. So I worked at the time, I worked at Sears in their appliances and furniture department. And because I was in sales, I had business cards. So I did give out some of my Sears business cards, and people could contact me when I got home. I did also give some people my email address.
Uh-huh.
But mostly I just came home. It wasn't really those sales that took it off, though. I think it was, Etsy was pretty big then, so it was quite popular for that kind of thing.
What year
already.
is this, by the way?
Oh, maybe we're going back 8 years.
Okay.
7 years, 8 years. I'm not sure. I could have looked that up if I had thought of it.
Okay.
So no, I did do, I came home, I started that, and I started getting orders right away. But
and can I back up? Can I just clarify as we go along? So did you, when you did the shirts for your family and they had a picture, you did a drawing of each kid, and we're going to show that. We're going to show some stuff, but you did each person in your family. But when you said when you came home and you put it on your Etsy shop, you didn't put that original design up, did you?
Yes, I did.
Because I was thinking, well, that's specific to your family. And
yes. So what I put up was, this is an example of what you'll get.
Oh, gotcha.
And there was a form you filled in that told me about your family. So you would tell me all the things and then maybe send a photo. Mm-hmm. And then I would draw your family in front of a background of something you were going to do for vacation. So I started out with, I put up the picture of my family, and then I drew some more, different, just like made up families. Mm-hmm. And I put them up there, and there was a list that says, here's, send me each person, the order you want them to stand in, and then your name, their gender, their hair color, length, style, what their outfit looks like, what they're going to hold in their hand. And then I would draw them. And for the first couple, it was great fun. And I really quickly learned that was going to take me far more time than I had with a full-time job, and the number of things, the number of orders that were coming in, because I never expected, I thought maybe like one or two. And like here and there, I never thought it was going to be like dozens right away.
Wow. How did they find, like, from my understanding, my very limited understanding on Etsy, if you make a shop and just put something up, it's not necessarily promoted. So how did it get out there to where people were finding it?
So it was, I put in tags, like keyword tags.
Okay.
And right off the start, I didn't advertise it. I put in keyword tags, and there were people who were selling, I guess there's a culture around people who go to Disney a lot. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that they go looking for is custom t-shirts for groups.
Oh.
So somebody's already searching that, and they were just finding me.
Wow.
So the way that the Etsy algorithm worked back when I started worked out really well in my favor. Etsy would put you on the top of the list if you had sales. Mm-hmm. The more sales you had, the closer you go to the top of the list. If you had good reviews, and if somebody searched personalized t-shirts and clicked on my listing to even just look at it, that would boost me up. So I had, I made a lot of different listings. I made a lot of different backgrounds, and I put them all up there. And when you searched, for a long time, if you went on to Etsy and you searched personalized t-shirts, what you would get is 2 or 3 pages of my listings,
Oh,
because I was at the top of the sales and I was at the top of the clicks, and everything just, and what you would see was this nice variety of different backgrounds and different options for characters. So I would get people who would write to me and go, oh, I really like the dad in this listing and the mom in that listing. Can you put them together in mine?
hmm.
But you would get it. So it worked out really well for me in the beginning. They did change that later on, which kind of sucked. But
So,
so I didn't advertise it.
so how do they change it? Like, I'm just so fascinated by it.
A big change that Etsy did a few years ago now was they put, if you were a new business, like a new shop in your first 3 months, you got priority in the searches.
Oh,
And in my opinion, this was really bad for Etsy, because what they did is they took out people who were established, who
right.
had a good shop with a good product that people wanted and was popular, and we had good reviews and shipped stuff on time. And then they took that and pushed us all to the bottom to promote new sellers. And then they would show the new sellers who hadn't really figured it all out yet, right? They had a couple of things. Their price was high, their shipping was outrageous, different things that they still had to figure out. And then what they were doing is pushing all those people up to the top. So that, I think, was a big downfall for them. And they did eventually sort that out a little bit better. But there are changes to the algorithm all the time. So if you're selling on Etsy, you really have to stay on top of that.
Okay. So you're, so then do you reinvent your shop every couple of months till you have a new business? I mean, there's always a game, right? There's a counter to every change, right?
Yeah. I was really lucky. I was already selling something that people were already searching for. So whenever they tried to change things, I have a fly. Whenever they tried to change things like little alterations, I didn't do too bad with it. But I did get a couple of times there, they did like a major overhaul, and it was really kind of a shock. They don't give you any warning. You just kind of wake up in the morning and there's so many changes.
Right.
But there are people out there who do blogs and YouTube channels, and they stay on top of, like, what they do is the Etsy algorithm, and they tell you they changed this. Here's what you do to fix your shop. Then you just do that, fix your shop, and you're.
Oh.
But you need those people, and you need to listen to those people.
Interesting. Okay, so then you had told me in your email, I believe, that when you first started, you were less efficient, and then you did some things to become more efficient. You want to talk about that a little bit? Yes.
So I didn't have any knowledge of digital illustration at all. When I started out, I actually drew the first shirts that we went to Disney World in. I drew them on a piece of paper. I printed them. I colored them. I colored the paper, and then I photocopied it on my printer and printed it out onto iron-on transfers. And that was it. And I look back at them a couple of years later and thought, wow, do those look bad? But still, so many people liked them. And when I came home and I started doing this, and I started getting a lot of orders, what I was doing was I would take I have a paper like this. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
So this is my little people template. So what I would do is I would take this and I would tape it to the window. And then I would do a quick trace of the people in the order that I needed them, so that I just had all the sizes right.
Right.
And then I had like a background. So like if you were going to Disney World, I had a castle. It's not really the Disney castle because, I'm not allowed to draw that one, but it's a castle, and nobody ever noticed it wasn't the Disney castle.
Okay.
So then I would take that one and put it on the window, and I would trace the castle behind. And I would come home from work, and I would do as many of these as I could before it got dark. And then I would sit down and I would do all the details and ink them all. And then I would scan them on the printer. And then I would put them up on paint, and I would go fill to color in all the clothes and hair and skin. And then I would email it to the people who bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for quite a while, and it got very quickly to the point where I couldn't keep up with orders in that little bit of daylight that I had when I got home from work, until the sun had gone down enough that I couldn't trace anymore. So I went out and bought a light table, like a little, it was Crayola. I have a better one now. It was Crayola, and it just held like one piece of printer paper, right? So I would draw that, and then I would trace in the background. Drawing that background every time was a nightmare. I have some examples here I can show. I did one for the Universal Studios Harry Potter area, and it had Hogwarts. And the number of times I had to trace that Hogwarts castle in, quite a bit of detail, it was just taking me way too long, and I needed to find something that made it faster. So I went online and I started trying to watch. I knew digital illustration was a thing, but I didn't know how to do it. So I was going online, I was looking for YouTubers who could show me how to do this. And that's how I found you. So there's quite a few people on there who, they do it really well, but they do it so fast and they don't really explain the basics. So you were drawing and you were explaining what you were doing as you went. And the information that are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, it'll probably
connection.
freeze up every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I really needed to know was how to use layers, the selection tool, decrease the opacity on one layer and draw over it. And because I'm trying to do this, I couldn't do this on like a paint program. So I watched your channel and I got that information, and I bought myself a bamboo tablet and got a Photoshop program, and I watched and I followed all the steps, and I got going there, and I could do them so much faster. I just had a layer for the background. I could just slap it in there every time. All I had to draw was the people. It was so much faster. And I was still drawing the people, by the way, on paper and scanning them in, because I wasn't good with that bamboo tablet yet.
And no one is, except
I did get it after many years of sitting here.
Wow.
For hours and hours and hours every day. I did finally get it to a
You're
point
one of the few.
But I do have a monitor now that I draw on. So that's so much easier.
Yeah.
But I did that.
Which monitor did you buy?
I have the Huey on one because I don't know why. I'm just, the other one is the Wacom one is just so much more money for the same thing.
Right.
And I thought, before I made that investment, first I want to see how I like drawing on a screen. So, and it's great. So far, I haven't had any issues with it at all.
I tested one of those, and it worked great. It's just they're just not made as well, but they work. Yeah. And that's a great way. I've talked to a lot of my students and said, you may want to try it that way because it's so much more affordable. And if you find that you need more, you can always get more later on. So, yeah. Right.
Well, for anybody who's trying to decide out there, it's really, really great just to let you know if you like it or not. And I do. And if this one broke down, I would put the money into a better one.
Yeah.
But for now, this one still works. So it's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did eventually, I got it down so that I was working really fast, doing it digitally. And then I could do piles and piles and piles of these. But the thing that I got then was I had a lot of emails from people who said, will you print this on a shirt? And I said, I don't have any way to do that. You'll have to iron it on yourself.
Uh-huh.
And eventually and when I say eventually, I mean like 3 months in, I went out and bought a press, like a commercial press, and a whole pile of t-shirts and a whole pile of transfer paper.
Oh, wow.
And I did start printing them myself. And as soon as I did that, it was so fast. I was working full time overnight. I emailed the people that I had an order open for to draw their picture. And I said, I am going to start printing shirts. Do you want me to print yours? And every single one of them came back with yes, send me another invoice. And I did. And really the people whose shirts I had open, those invoices for the extra almost paid for the stock that I needed to buy to get started in printing.
Wow.
And it just overnight, it was so fast. And then I'd get up early in the morning, I'd draw shirts, I'd print shirts, I'd take them to work with me. And on my lunch break, I'd go over and mail them at the post office. I come home, I'd work more. And then it didn't take me very long and I just quit my job and stayed home. Because
wow.
I was making way more money here. I was turning away jobs. I was telling people, sorry, I'm booked right now. I can't do your shirt. But I was turning away so many that it wasn't worth it for me to go out and work and be there for the whole day. And I just stayed home.
That's great.
So and it was really good and it lasted for a lot of years. And then we had COVID. And when COVID hit and they shut everything down, nobody could travel. And nobody wanted a vacation shirt.
Wow.
So we went on vacation right before COVID. Like I think we went on a cruise. We went out in New Jersey. And I think I was back in Canada for 2 days when they locked everything down. The schools closed, the borders closed, all these people stranded on cruise ships, and we were off our ship for 2 days.
Wow.
But when I came home, normally I'd come home to like a huge pile of orders, and I came home to nothing.
Wow.
And I thought, we didn't realize what COVID was going to be at that point, or we wouldn't have gone, right?
Right.
We would have canceled our trip and stayed home if we knew. But that happened. Nobody ordered anything. So that was the end of that. But it was okay because all that time I'm drawing, I started watching your videos to learn how to do a digital illustration. But what I really learned was about doing children's book illustrations. And then I went into SVS and I watched all the SVS. And that's what I would do. I would sit here and draw and I would watch a video. And I did that for so long. By the time we got through, quite a few years of this, I didn't want to draw these anymore. I wanted to do children's book illustrations. So I was so busy. And when everything shut down, I didn't know how long it was going to last.
Right.
And B, I was just really happy to have a little bit more time to spend on doing some of the work I wanted to do instead of all the work I had to do.
Wow. That's such a great story. It's rare that people find an untapped or unsatisfied market like you did. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, is because it's such a great story. And one of the lines in your email was you had to figure out how to pay taxes on 6 figures or something like that, right?
Yes. That was it was I was so busy, but at the same time, I couldn't believe how many of these I was selling. It was just nuts. And then at the end of the year, I was shocked when I had to do my taxes, and I went, oh no, because I'd never run a business before,
Mhm.
and it didn't occur to me to put away money for taxes.
Oh,
So I did learn my lesson.
yeah. A lot of early entrepreneurs kind of go through that thing.
Yeah.
Kind of a
So
good
I hear a
problem to
lot of
have,
people say it now. I didn't hear people say it before,
right?
but
Yeah,
now I did. I learned that lesson. Yes.
yeah. So now you're studying to increase your talents and your skill set to be able to diversify, because the artwork that you were doing for t-shirts wasn't narrative in nature. It was more
No.
representative. Um,
Yeah.
and and so now you're trying to make a transition and find yourself. Yep, it's fascinating because to me, because as someone who has taught illustration for many years, I run into students who are developing these great art skills, but they have um, seemingly no ambition to explore options on how they can sell their talents, their skills. They want to be told primarily, here's a job, and here's how much I'm going to pay you, and they're really not creative in going out there. It sounds like you kind of accidentally found that market, but I wonder how many more markets are there out there that either are undiscovered and people are waiting to give their money away, or how many markets are barely being filled where there's a lot of opportunity. It's just an interesting thing to me as someone who is mostly entrepreneurial, and in fact, Lee, Jake, and I just filmed a podcast right before this where we talked exactly about that we're living in a time right now where, 20 years ago, you as an artist, Etsy didn't exist, Kickstarter didn't exist, the technology wasn't there, the internet wasn't there, and so that business that you had or still have wasn't possible, and then overnight it was possible.
Right. And without Etsy, who would I? Because, like I said earlier, people in Canada don't really do group shirts.
Uh-huh.
And when we were first going, my mother-in-law knew about it because they go all the time, but I didn't know about it. So I said, I kind of, like I said, I thought it was kind of a dumb idea. I didn't think I thought we would look very silly walking around Disney World in all these matching shirts, being like the only people walking around Disney in matching shirts. And no, because when we got there were loads of people going, and I didn't, I didn't recognize. I would never have gone and just said, "Oh, I'm going to make custom T-shirts with, people's families on them for people to wear on vacation."
Right.
And because I didn't know that even that was a thing, but once I got it, where would I have sold that in Canada?
Right.
I wouldn't. There was no opportunity to do it at all.
So getting
I
out.
have sold some in Canada, but not that many.
Most are from people in the States then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's fascinating. Do you want to show some of them? And by the way,
Yes.
you're going to share your website so people can go and look at your Etsy and stuff.
Well, actually, I'm closed right now
Oh.
for COVID.
Oh, so you're not even doing it, even if
my shop is there. It is there. I have a very small selection of stuff up there right now, and it's only there because I want to know when things start to pick back up. Like people
Gotcha.
are traveling now,
right.
But I think that what's happening right now, and I'm guessing because I'm not 100%. I think what's happening right now is people are still making plans to travel, but
Uh-huh.
they're doing it maybe last minute. They're
Okay.
not booking something off in the future, and they're booking it with maybe knowledge that they might have to cancel that. So they're not buying shirts to wear on that
Which
trip.
is it's a premeditated, like long off in the distance kind of a thing. Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
So where, you don't want to go buy shirts for your family vacation that have a date on them and then
Uh,
not be able to wear them.
right.
Or, when you do rebook next year, the year after, it's not the same group that was going to go, or, somebody had a
Right.
baby, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I have it up there. It's actually, my shop is called Jenny Made It, which is like a really dumb name. Jenny, Jeni, and then made it, but all one word. And there, it was the name that I had. I've heard you guys talk about this at SVS a lot of times. Pick something that you're going to want to stick with
Mhm.
for the names of all of your channels and things. I never thought I would have an Etsy shop that was that successful when I named this dumb name. And then it got going, and then I didn't want to change it because now people knew
Right.
that name. And I didn't want to go back and change it to like custom vacation shirts or something, because people would type in Jenny Made It.
Right.
And then, some people thought that was my actual name. Like that was my first name. And they would write to me, "Hi, Jenny Made It," and call me all these weird things. But
Your last name
I
is
didn't
Made It.
want to change it. So on Etsy, my shop is called Jenny Made It.
Okay.
And if you go in there and type that in, you'll see some of my stuff. But I can show some because I did get some things ready to share. So,
Oh, good.
but yeah, that was it was kind of a dumb name, and I did regret it from then on.
So
But that name your stuff something that you want to stick with for the rest of your life, just in case.
okay.
That's my advice to everyone.
You gotta, yeah. The funny thing about that is if you're not even thinking along those lines, that's so many people's stories, what you just related, with as far as naming their business.
Yeah.
So
When I started all my illustration stuff, it's all my name. Like
right.
my illustration website is jenniferthornhill.ca. There's no gimmicky name, no nothing, just my name,
Mhm.
because I learned my lesson.
Okay, so if you want to share your screen, let's take a look.
Okay, share my screen. And I'm sorry if I messed this up.
It's okay. That's what editing is for.
Right. Okay, so I'll share first. I put together some pictures. So, oh, wait a minute. I gotta move this. Okay. Okay. So that's my name and stuff, if anybody wants to ask me a question.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to show you first is some backgrounds. So these are some of the backgrounds that I've done over the years. And this is a sunken ship. Somebody specifically asked for that.
Uh-huh.
But I did sell it quite a few times. People who go on a cruise think that's really funny. This is camping.
And when
Sorry, go ahead.
When they would come to your website, they could see these and they could choose the background. Is that right?
They can choose one, yes.
Okay.
So they can pick whatever. And people would ask me for new ones, and I would make them depending on the time of year. Like coming up to Christmas, absolutely not. Pick from what I have.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle of summer, it was pretty slow, or not slow, but slower. And so then I would do. So a lot of these actually came up with because people asked for them.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is camping, and then this is for the Star Tours in Disney World, and I would draw the people in little Jedi outfits. And I don't think I have an example of that actually drawn out, but I would draw them all. And then they'd start, oh, can you draw me as Princess Leia? Can you draw me as some Star Wars? I didn't watch Star Wars. So some character, and I'd have to Google everybody to get what their outfits looked like.
Now, why couldn't you
So
watch Star Wars?
Well, I did. I just never watched it.
Oh,
Yeah, I could watch it if I wanted to, I guess. So this is the one for Harry Potter.
oh,
And that
okay.
was I have you ever been here before?
Have I ever been to the Harry Potter village or whatever?
Yes.
I have not. I've been to Universal Studios. Is it at Universal?
Yes.
So I went before that was a thing.
Okay. I only ever went after, but I've been a lot of times. I'm a very big Harry Potter fan. So I did get a letter from certain authors, lawyers telling me not to sell this anymore. And I was very disappointed because it was my favorite one. But you can see what I mean about tracing this background in every time, right?
Right, yeah.
So it was a lot of work. But
But when you went digital, when did in this journey, when did you go digital? How many months in or years in?
Oh, it was very fast because as soon as I put it up there, I had so many orders that I couldn't keep up. And then I immediately started looking for an answer to do that digitally because
Wow.
I couldn't. I just, like I said, I was tracing on the window. I
Wow.
couldn't keep it up. And I was maybe no more than 6 months. I was completely doing it all digital.
Wow.
So I had to learn it really fast.
When you were printing t-shirts, how many shirts was on an average order, would you say?
8 to 10.
And so you were and can I ask about how much you would make on one order? Like what was the gross and what was the net maybe?
Okay, on one shirt, I charged about $20 for the shirt,
Uh-huh.
Canadian, and it cost me about $5 to make it.
Okay. So pretty decent profit margin.
Yes. And the bigger the order, the better it worked out because I only had to draw the picture one time.
Right.
Right. And so sometimes people order 25 shirts. And I just drew the picture once and then I would sell 25 with that picture on it.
So
So
you did a lot of shirts. You did a lot.
A lot.
Wow.
A lot of shirts. I was like 12-hour days. It was crazy.
Wow.
Sometimes I get my husband to help me print shirts while I drew. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
What
really,
did he think of all this? Was he happy about it?
Oh yeah. Well, I was making more money than I was on my last job.
Uh-huh.
So we traveled quite a bit.
Nice.
It was nice because the nice thing about it was I can take the Etsy shop and just click on vacation anytime I want to. And then I'd go on vacation and then come home and I'd open it back up again.
Oh.
So that really worked. This Harry Potter design, while we're on it, if you wore this shirt, and nobody can anymore, and I didn't advertise it because it wasn't like guaranteed, but if you wore this shirt and you went to the Harry Potter place in Florida, you could go and talk to the person who works there at the end of the line, and they would take you to the front of the line. They would if you're wearing matching shirts to Universal Studios, not necessarily my shirt, but if you're wearing matching shirts to Universal Studios, this is a travel tip for everybody, and you go and talk to the person at the end of the line, they will take you to the front of the line. And sometimes that line is like 4 hours long.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, and they do this really good show where you can go into Ollivander's wand shop and then they pick a kid or somebody out of the audience, and you go up, and when you wave the different wands to try them out, things happen. Like all the wands fall off the shelf and then go back up, and different magic effects. And if you're wearing matching shirts, they will pick you for the show.
Oh.
So because they want people to do it like they do at Disney, right?
Oh.
So they would do that if you wore these shirts, but they were really my favorite ones, and I was disappointed. I think if I took this Hogwarts Express off the top of it, I would have been okay, but I didn't want to push my luck. So I just stopped selling.
Gotcha.
So this is Flo's Cafe for people who liked cars. And that's Anne of Green Gables' house, which I don't know if you guys know about that in the US.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we have it here and people like it. Here's that was a pain to trace every time, but that was for people who are going everywhere on one trip.
Oh wow.
They would ask for that. And then I've got this castle, so you can see what I mean. That isn't the Disney castle. It's just a castle.
Right.
And nobody ever noticed. There it is for Halloween. And there's Epcot.
So a lot of different backgrounds.
Yeah, quite a few. So beaches, and I think then we've got a cruise ship. Oh, this is some newer ones. So I've redid them. Those were older backgrounds that I did. Like that's when I started out with. So I did. I put in a couple new ones that I kind of cleaned up a bit. Once I really learned how to do this online or on the computer rather than, oh, that one's a little bit glitchy. So yeah, that was nice. So here's this is an early one, 2017. And it has everybody. So that's what I mean by you take the whole family and stand them in front of wherever they're going. Everybody get their own hair and whatever.
Did you usually put the names in too?
Almost always.
Okay.
So what I found, some people would say, oh, I don't want people to know my kid's name. So they would either try and give everybody in the drawing a nickname, which was really awful, or they would just leave them out because they were like forcing nicknames on people who didn't have a nickname.
Right.
And some of them were really long and it wouldn't fit in the space. So that was, so I've got a couple here that there's some kids. I did eventually take this logo off of that. At the same point that really I got the letter about the Harry Potter castle, I took the logos off things. And nobody cared. They sold just as well. So they didn't need to be there in the first place. That one was obviously sold to somebody in Canada. Here's the safari. And I put in a lot more of these than I thought I did. So there's some people at the Harry Potter one. And and then here's pirate ships. And then I've got some new ones. I'll skip through some because it's a lot, but so there we have a lot of people going to the beach. So this is newer than the other one. But yeah, so that was, and they would get quite involved at some point. So they'd be like, well, my brother-in-law is an accountant. Can he be holding a calculator? Sure, why not? Everybody brings their calculator on vacation.
So this is cool, and I really hope that this gives some of you guys that are listening ideas to pursue markets, because markets that are not necessarily what am I trying to say, common, because there are so many opportunities out there, and yet a lot of them are probably untapped, and a lot of them are just things that you could do so easily. But I think that we're programmed to think a certain way. We're programmed to think that there's a job waiting for us. We're the product of our school system, and everything is geared towards, like in junior high and high school, you don't have an entrepreneurial class, right? You have,
You should.
you should, yeah. It's funny because I think I read a statistic that at least here in the States, about half of us will at one point in our life start some sort of a business out of our home. And yet that's not taught in school at all. And so like you found yourself in a situation where all of a sudden you're in business and didn't even plan on being in business. And there's probably a
Right.
lot
Well,
of
not to
things.
that extent anyway.
Yeah. Um, and so just to wrap up, I think it's your story is great. And also that, you markets kind of come and go, and your experience with COVID shutting you down is, I mean, if it's not COVID, it's something else, right? And
Right.
I've had situations like that where things are doing great, but there's a life cycle to things. When I first started um, releasing ebooks on Barnes and Noble, when they first allowed people to just upload an ebook, I was kind of like you. I would say you were in the right place at the right time, and made your shop and you worked hard and you made it work. And I made some ebooks, but the writing I saw on the wall was my success largely was due to the fact that I was early um, to that marketplace. And what I realized really quickly was that the big publishers were going to soon put all their titles out there that were going to compete with the titles that I produced on my own. And I knew that I was just going to get buried over time. So rather than put more eggs in that basket, I kind of quit early. I took the money
Yeah.
and ran, and did really
Mhm.
well with it. But also that I could tell that they were going to give publishers preference on Barnes and Noble, which I
Yes.
thought was a mistake. But it was what it was. They were going to rank the big publishers' titles, and I can see the wisdom in that as well, because in general, most of those titles are going to be better produced. They're going, they're using professional editors and art directors, and
Yeah.
they have a whole team behind them to make the book a production. Um,
Mhm.
Now you still can do really well on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble as an independent, if your books are just amazing. Mine weren't, and I knew that, and that's why I stopped doing them. It was more of an experiment, and it was fun while it lasted. So now you're
Yeah.
on to uh, learning more about illustration, and those chapters haven't been written yet, right?
No. So I did once COVID started and I had all this free time. I did illustrate a couple books. Um, one of them is out. The other two are not. They were all for self-published authors.
Uh-huh.
So the one that's out is a book called Scrub, and it is a book by a woman who works or who lives in Ottawa, and she contacted me shortly, like right just into COVID. She found my portfolio on the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators portfolio showcase page, and she asked me if I would do that book with her, and she did. Like I did get paid to do the book, but I didn't get royalties to do the book because my
Mhm.
royalties are being donated to food banks during COVID.
Oh, wow.
So I don't mind that because it's a good cause and I got to do a book.
Hmm.
And the book has since won a Reader's Choice Award,
Wow.
and it was shortlisted for another award it's a Canadian award that you've probably never heard of, but it was up there there was 5 on the short list, and the 3 of them were by Scholastic and one was by Kids Can Press. So just making that list was nice.
That's
It was
nice.
really, we didn't win it, but getting on the list was really exciting.
I've been there too, where just being the recognition of being considered is important. Yeah.
It was really exciting. It's my first one, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but I was really really excited about that. So I did a couple, and then you came out with the Children's Book Pro course. So I took that, and now I'm working forward from there.
Well, great. So what do you hope to accomplish in the future?
Well, I'm hoping to write and illustrate my own books. I started writing way back years ago. I used to write picture books. And now this is before there was internet. And I would mail them away. I could type them up and I mail them away. And I would get back, letters that said, can you change this and resubmit? And I would get back things that said they really like it, but doesn't fit right now. And I realize now that that was a positive response, where at the time I thought that was a negative response. But I'm still writing, and I have published a couple little things, but not a book, like a story in a magazine, but not my own book. But what I really want to do is write and illustrate. So,
well, that's great. That's a great goal. That's a great goal. And wish you all the success and hope that those goals come true. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to bring out there?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for sharing your time and sharing this amazing story. It's just I love stories like this. And when I read your email, I'm like, I've got to, I know, for those of you who've been following my YouTube channel for a long time, you know that I really slowed down when we really ramped up the 3-Point Perspective podcast. And so I don't make that many videos, but this was one that I definitely wanted to make. So I'm really grateful to you, Jennifer, for sharing your story. It's a really fun story for me, and I hope other people are enjoying it too.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So don't be a stranger online, and good luck. And
all right, thank you.
We will hopefully talk to you after you've started writing and illustrating your books and getting those published too.
Oh, hopefully. Soon.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.